welcome to the Victorian Toffee Show. I'm your host, Andy, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Nick, Chris, and Tim. And boy, what a week that's been. The winning continues, the great feelings continues, and Everton continues. So let's kick it off with talking about the West Brom game. Who would like to start?
Yeah, look, I'll kick it off, boys.
There you go, Tim.
So as we all know, we had a bit of a Zoom meetup for the West Brom game with our supporters group, Victorian supporters group. As anyone who was on that meetup will know that I did imbibe quite a lot, and there are small portions of the game I don't remember a whole lot about, but I have sort of rewatched it a little and made myself a little more familiar with the game. Look, I guess initial reaction is great win, 5-2. Then when you sort of look at it in a bit more detail, there are a few concerns. Obviously, a team that's likely to get relegated put 2 goals past us. That was sort of one concern, and the way they did it as well, it was very similar to the way Tottenham created chances in the first week, sort of from our own attacking corner, taking the ball the length of the pitch. I think Yerry Mina was at fault for both goals, to be honest. Not jumping in the wall, and also not attacking that Diagna or whatever his name was when he was running forward with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
At some point there, he had to make a decision to put a tackle in, and he just chose never to make that decision. Pickford maybe could have done better with the first one. But all in all, ironically, James got his first goal for the club, which was great. And I think ironically, just before he scored that goal, I just said to the guys in the Zoom meeting, is James playing? I don't think he'd contributed very much up until that point. But obviously, great to see him score his first goal and get an assist as well, which was also good for my fantasy team. Calvert-Lewin got a hat-trick that, while not the prettiest of hat-tricks, was certainly effective. Right. And look, I know it's a bit concerning to concede 2 goals against, a relegation candidate, but we scored 5. I'll be perfectly honest, if we go through the rest of the season scoring 5 and conceding 2 or 3, I'd be perfectly happy with that. Our defence is not great, and as we know, we wanted to reinforce there, but the priorities lay elsewhere. I think we're seeing the fruits of that investment in where we prioritised it in the midfield, and in defence. It kind of reminds me, I hate to say this, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Liverpool a couple of seasons ago. So when Klopp first took over, he had 6 months like Ancelotti did. And then in his first full season, he got Liverpool looking really good going forward, but they were still quite leaky defensively, and they recognised that. So the money they spent originally was on their forwards and midfields, and then in the second season they invested in goalkeepers and defenders, and then they became a very good team, I hate to say. So yeah, overall, attacking wise, great. Defensively, a bit leaky, but again, if we score more than the opposition, we're going to win. What about yourself, Chris?
So like you guys obviously was on the Zoom call, which was good. Any game you score 5 goals is pretty good. Obviously we like to see our team score goals. It was pretty, it was pretty tough going. Sort of the first 20 minutes took us a bit of time to get into the game. It was totally different than Tottenham. I thought they would have been up for it from the start, but it just didn't seem like they were. We just weren't stringing those passes around like we were in the first game. James wasn't really on the ball quite a lot. It was predominantly through Allen and Decore. I think Decore was absolutely brilliant again. Probably close to our best, other than the goal scorers. Their first goal, or the first goal of the game, like you said, they sort of took it from one end, and Mina should have poked out a leg or had a crack at the player, at least touch him, even if you're going to cop a yellow. At least have a go, but he didn't. In my opinion, Pickford could have done better, but we'll talk about him later. But to our credit, we got back into the game pretty quickly. We all thought the goal wasn't going to be given, that VAR was not going to help us, but VAR finally went in our favour, and then I think we controlled pretty much the game from then on till the end of the half. James obviously scored his first goal, which was brilliant, by the way. That touch to bring it down, and then the shot was quality. Richarlison was quality the whole game. 3 assists is his first game with 3 assists could easily have been 3 goals to himself as well. You know, he had quite a few chances. Obviously, the red card to Gibbs helped. Start of the second half, their free kick. I thought it was a pretty good free kick, but you know, that distance out once again, maybe a little bit on Pickford, but more Mina, and the communication between the wall, you know, one jumped, the rest didn't, or vice versa. So a little bit average there, but then from there we just, you know, took on the game, and I think it was pretty easy running after that. Totally agree with you, Tim. You know, I think it is a little concerning that we gave away 2. Mina is a little bit of a liability at times. You know, against Tottenham, he was brilliant. You know, he there was never any problems with him. You weren't worried when he had the ball. Against West Brom, every time he had the ball, I was a bit worried. You know, it was Mina of old. So I don't know whether that's him not getting enough games under his belt and maybe not being as fit and dropping off a little bit, or he's just has a good game, has a bad game. But I think he needs to work on it. You know, still a lot of speculation that we're in for a loan for a centre back. I know we definitely need it. You know, playing in the other game we played this week, Digne in centre backs, probably not ideal. We don't really want him as a backup. We'd prefer Mason Holgate or Branthwaite, but we can't have them. So interesting that Tomori played last night for Chelsea. So that's probably, I don't know, he's probably out of the running for it now. You know, they generally don't play a player that they're going to loan out, even though it was the cup. So interesting to see what happens there.
But it also means he's cup tied. If we did get him, he would be able to play for us in the Carabao Cup. So
correct, yeah. So
or maybe the FA Cup, both maybe. Anyway,
I don't think the FA Cup, but definitely the Carabao. But it's obviously going to add into the thinking of the, you know, Marcel and Carlo. So I think it's a watch this space. Obviously, the press conference tomorrow, or tonight or tomorrow, will be interesting to see what Carlo's got to say. You know, all in all, we take the win. 3 points to 3 points. West Brom are going down, in my opinion. Doesn't matter. Win's a win. It's good to see us 2 from 2. Tough game this week against Palace. So we'll see how we go. Nick, what did you think?
I can't really have much more than what you guys have already covered, to be honest. I think it's always difficult to criticise when you won 5-2. That's we're scoring goals, we're going forward well, and that's great. Yeah, I think it's been said, but Mina backing off was not ideal for Dion Garner's goal. Great strike from the lad. I mean, initially I did think Pickford potentially, but I do think it was borderline unstoppable. This might be a bit too harsh. We'll get on to Pickford a little bit later. But yeah, I think it's great to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting those goals, getting into the right positions and scoring. Yes, they weren't particularly pretty, but that's what you need in the striker. You need someone who's going to gobble up those chances, the second balls, getting on the end of it, getting a little bit of luck here and there as well. And that can only bode well for us. I thought, again, Doucouré is my man of the moment at the moment. I think he's an absolutely fantastic buy, and I've said it last week and maybe the week before, if I had that foresight, probably not, that he is everything we've been missing since Ganna left. He's a slightly different player, but he's just brilliant at breaking up the play, and he can drive the ball forward. He's a decent passer of the ball, and again, he was great. So yeah, look, it is a bit concerning that 11v11, I thought West Brom for the first 15 minutes were on top. It could have very easily been 2-0. They hit the post, and you know that could have been. I don't know about curtains, but it could have definitely could have gone the other way. But I think once they did go down to 10 men, we went 2-1 up. I know they scored from a free kick, which can happen in any scenario. I thought we were largely in the second half in control. I thought we played some really good stuff. It's just really pleasing to see us scoring some goals through really good attacking football. Looks like we can pass 4 yards, which is such a change.
And 4 yards forward, not sideways or backwards.
Forwards, you know, we've got players looking. James is looking for it. Allen's breaking up play and bringing it forward. Same with Doucouré. Richarlison, it just sacrifices so much for the team and puts it in the goal the other end as well. I think he's brilliant. But yeah, look, overall, you can't complain with a 5-2 win against a potential banana skin, especially going 1-0 down. So no complaints from me in general. Andy, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was 5-2, great result. But yeah, as you've all you guys have said, a bit of a slow start. West Brom were really on top of us. And yeah, really bad defending by Mina. But yeah, I just thought all in all, you know, they really, you know, we had that terrible record with Silver and past managers of like when we concede coming back to win games. And to already have that already done in this game, it feels like, oh, hey, if this kind of thing happens again, we're going to be okay. Because, you know, though I guess it could be different against the quality of opposition, but, you know, it gave me the idea of, you know, things could be pretty good, like in those type of scenarios. And not to, you know, stress out too much about, you know, conceding so early. But yeah, no, I just thought, yeah, Calvert-Lewin getting the hat-trick was really great. Finally, VAR giving us a decision. But, and yeah, no, it was just really, really good. Yeah, to be on top of the league for a while until Leicester played was really good. Good fun. And yeah, just brilliant.
You touch on the fact that when we went 1-0 down, we felt that we could get back into it, and that is a change. Because whenever we went 1-0 down against any team, no matter who it was, we thought that's game over, and more often than not, it was. So that's a good change.
And you saw that with the equaliser. It was just 1-2 touch, ball in. Richarlison, you know, going in for it, comes off the defender, and Calvert-Lewin's just there for the back heel to go in. So, like, we're really pushing forward.
That's a big change in mentality, you know, that under a manager like Silva or previously before in Koeman and, you know, Martinez, that sort of thing, the players probably didn't have that inner confidence or that maybe that confidence that they're getting from the manager. But I think having Carlo in charge, you know, they go 1-0 down and we'll still after that we were the better team, and you know it was instant response from all the players. So it was really, really good. So I think a big mentality shift, and really, really good to see that, you know, Carlo's having, and I'm going to put it down to him, and you know that we saw it a little bit with Dunk as well. But I think having them two in charge, that mentality's just switched a little bit, and I don't know, maybe players like Allen and James who are come from a bit more of a winning culture and that sort of thing. Maybe that helps as well and spurs the players on. But definite change in mentality that I've noticed.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to back up like what you guys are saying, because I was thinking the same thing. You know, I guess, you know, we're all sort of a bit cautiously optimistic about a 5-2 win because we still conceded 2 goals, but some of the points you guys are making just shows how different it is to last season. A
totally
VAR
different
decision went in our favour. And there's a little bit of make your own luck about this, I guess.
Yeah.
The VAR decision finally went in our favour. A player from the other team did something stupid and got red carded, which did, we have to acknowledge, help us get back into the game.
Yeah.
But, you know, the players stood up. They didn't drop their heads when they went 1-0 down. You know, we scored plenty of goals. The mentality of the team. And as Nick said, a potential banana skin of a game as well. You know, how many times have we discussed that when there's a bit of pressure on Everton to perform? And I think I mentioned it last week that I was a bit nervy about this game. You know, Tottenham was almost like a free hit because no one expected us to win. Because of the resultant performance at Tottenham, we were expected to win this, and we did. You know, it might not have been pretty at times and we were a bit nervy, but we did it. And that all of this is way more positive signs than any point in the last couple of years.
I just think on that as well, how much different is it to train for the rest of the players like the Dominic Calvert-Lewins of this world and you know, Seamus Coleman to an extent and the others, to train every day with players like James and Alan, and Richarlison, now he's hitting his peak as well, and Decore as well. I think that just brings it up another level. There's no doubt about it. Whatever happens this season, and we hope we'll have a successful season, we've attracted a whole different class of player, and that can only lift the club. And then things like getting a bit of luck, believing a bit more when you go 1-0 down. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? When you're working with that week in, week out. It's a whole different ball game this year, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, as we said, I think in one of the first shows, it feels like we finally got it right. And I know we're only 2 games into the season, but that hasn't changed for me.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
for sure.
mentality changed. The quality's risen. You can see it everywhere. Everyone. There's just a little bit of a buzz about everyone the whole time. The YouTube videos you're seeing, and Everton behind the scenes. The quality's it's just higher, and obviously the higher quality players you bring in, it drags that quality up. But Richarlison's obviously hitting his peak. Calvert-Lewin's had another little bit of a pre-season, and his confidence is up, so that's going to put some pressure. And Konku's come in as well, putting a little pressure on Digne, which is good. So competition for spots is phenomenal, and I think it's raising the quality of everybody in every game. So other than Pickford, but we'll touch on that later. But it's all positive, generally positive around the club, which we can only stay positive for longer, which is brilliant.
That's
right.
Look,
as fans of this club, we're very good at being miserable. So let's be happy while we can.
In a way, I kind of prefer being miserable, but also this feels quite good as well. So
what are you talking about? I'm loving this feeling.
I'm not gonna knock it.
I think Nick might be a bit of a sadist.
Yeah, well, it's just I think it's just the Everton way. We love having a moan, and I think it sort of helps soothe us and makes us. I don't know. It's like a therapy. I think.
This is like a brand new feeling.
Obviously, I say it in jest. I'm really excited for that mentality to change, and I do feel that hopefully this time there is that sort of that mentality shift, and we are going in the right direction, because the whole club, just as a club, right from the fans all the way through to the staff, through that, which transcends through to the players, had a losing mentality. At the end of the day, we'd go into every game, every cup, sixth round or quarterfinal, thinking, "Oh God, here we go, we're going to lose." And now we can go 1-0 down, we can go away to League One sides, whatever it might be, and we actually think, you know what, we're going to win this, even if the adversity is against us. We've got a chance, we've got a shot, because simply we've got the quality in the team
that's right.
to turn it round. And I do feel there's a shift in the fan base as well, because it is just because of the quality that's gone up, not only on the players but also the manager we've hired.
Yeah,
definitely. And with that, we're going to have a bit of a short break. We'll be back. And we're back. All right, we're going to be talking about the Fleetwood result. Chris, start us off.
So it was a nice early morning this morning, getting up to watch us play Joey Barton, boyhood Evertonian. Also Alan Stubbs, young boy, started at centre back for them as well. So a little bit of an Everton link. Pretty surprised with the team Carlo went with. Few surprises in there. I didn't think he'd play Richarlison. I thought he would have started Gordon. Calvert-Lewin starting as well was a little bit odd, because he has been in form. I thought he would have sort of pretty much stayed with the same team as last week, but he added in 4 or 5 starters from the Prem team, which was different. Pickford in goals as well was a bit odd, and then Virginia not even on the bench, odd again, considering you just signed a new deal. So I know we're going to talk about Pickford later, but I felt that was just a little bit odd. The game wise, it was a game we're expected to win, and pretty much from the very beginning, it was just attack, and Richarlison really well, taking a couple of goals. Bernard really, really good. Good to see him get some minutes under his belt. But the second half, what can we say? Pickford, first one was just an absolute dreadful error, and it just put us under unnecessary pressure. And a team last year's Everton, if that happened, I think we probably go on in that game. We struggle massively and potentially draw or lose that game, even though they're a League One side. But like we were saying before, that the shift in mentality, I think, helped us. Iwobi settled it pretty quickly to get a goal back, but then obviously Pickford again. So issues defensively. I know Keane wasn't the best last night, but he's playing a lot of games in a row. Digne at centre back. Obviously, it's not ideal having him sit in there, but I think having him there is a positive because Nkunku is just a freak, and to have the bloke whose position he's trying to take next to him, who's pretty much coaching him on the ground, and you can see a lot of pointing and talk between the two of them. And I think because they're both French as well, I think that has a very strong effect on
Definitely.
Nkunku. I think it's a real positive thing for the young lad, and to be honest, he's going to be a jet, and it wouldn't surprise me if Digne had a few average games in the Prem. It wouldn't surprise me to see him get some minutes. Overall, once again, we take the goals, take the win. We're into the next stage. Win's a win. We want to win a cup. Some positive performances. I think pretty much everyone did their part. Delph was serviceable. Sigurdsson again serviceable.
That's a really good word for Delph in that game. Serviceable.
Yeah, but other than his rash challenge early, I hardly noticed him. So to me, that's what you want for a bloke playing in that sort of holding role, sitting in front of the defenders. So
yeah,
serviceable. He did his job. Maybe someone's seen that and goes, well, I'll give you $5 million for him, and we'll take him off our hands. So
definitely.
Possibly, maybe while Carlo played some of those players. I think Iwobi was really, really good. Obviously a bit of talk in our WhatsApp. There was only League One side, that sort of thing. But you can only play against the team you put up against. And he, Nick, you mentioned it when we were chatting off air, and he put in a shift in his position. He could easily have scored 2 or 3, even more. I think he had a few shots, but he was quite good. And to get some minutes under the belt, I know he missed the first game of the Prem with injury. So minutes under the belt, he could be good coming off the bench for 10 minutes to run at a tiring defence in the Prem. I think Bernard as well, very similar. And, I see that for Gordon. We all know Gordon's going to be a jet, and he just needs to bide his time, and he'll be in that first team every single game. And, I read an article during the week that he, after the first game, he went into Carlo's office and said to him, why didn't you pick me? I've given you everything. Why didn't you pick me? I want to be playing. You didn't even put me on the bench. And Carlo said to him, listen, it's not you, mate. It's not you. We just have depth of squad at the moment, and I just couldn't fit you in this game. But Carlo come out and said that he loves the fact that the young boy, without anybody saying anything, has gone into his office after training and said, I want to be playing. He's put some onus on himself. Why aren't I playing? Tell me what I need to do. Tell me. So it shows the desire there. And, I actually deep dived into it a little bit. And apparently very early in Calvert-Lewin's career at Everton, he did a very similar thing, and was just told you just need to work harder at training. So, it's good to see that younger players have that desire to succeed and to play. He just wants to play, and we know when he plays how good he can be. So, all in all, we take the win. West Ham in the next game is going to be obviously another step up. So team news for that will be interesting. I think Carlo, the way I sort of saw the team is that he's adding in a few of the regular starters in positions that he sees are going to be the weakest against that team. So against West Ham, we could have proper back four, possibly Allen or Decore in. So we'll see how we go. But overall, take the win. Worth waking up for. Obviously, more goals again. So, Tim, what did you think?
Yeah, look, guys, I woke up. I made it through about the first 5 minutes and drifted off. That's the danger of watching it on the laptop in bed, I guess. I've since watched the highlights. I can't really say much about the game as a whole. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of players. I'm not going to mention Pickford because we've got a whole segment coming up about him. But Nkunku, I don't know if you guys noticed, but just prior to the game or late last night, our time, the club's kind of done a bit of a shifty and pulled the wool over our eyes. So he was obviously bought to play in the under-23s. So when he was signed, there was no fanfare. There was no picture of him with contract Dave, no picture of him holding up the shirt doing this one. And overnight, they released all those pictures and went, because, we signed him during COVID. So we didn't get the chance to do this. I actually think, and I'm saying this is a good thing, I actually think what's happened is they bought him for under 20. No, under 23 players don't get that fanfare.
No.
But he's been there for 5 minutes, and they're like, bloody hell, this guy's good enough to be a first team player. And so that's their way of saying to the fans, this is our depth at left back now. And, look, obviously it gave him a lot of confidence because he did a bang up job in that game. The other one I wanted to touch on was Iwobi. I've been a pretty staunch Iwobi supporter, kind of sitting in the stands by myself in that fan zone. And I noticed a lot of lads in the WhatsApp group today saying how well Iwobi was doing centrally. So obviously no one's ever listened to me for the last year when I've been banging on about how he's naturally a number 10 and that's where he plays for Nigeria.
Yeah.
At Arsenal, the plan was to transition him into a number 10. So I said all last season, again, his performances weren't great last season a lot of the time, but he's being asked to play as a winger and he's not a winger. He doesn't have pace and all that sort of thing. So I think unfortunately for him, his natural position is the left coming in. Well, that's taken by Richie. So I don't think we're going to see him start too many games, but in that game, I did see performances from a few fringe players that made me go, if we need to rest a couple of the starting 11, we've got Abel back up on the bench. And these guys know they have to fight for their spots. So when we do come up against teams like Fleetwood, they're performing better than they normally would because they know it's their only chance of getting in the team. And again, Iwobi played well, but I don't think he played well enough to displace any of the front three for the game coming up against Palace. But he'll just have to keep working harder, and that's a really good vibe to have around the club, I think. Nick, what about yourself?
Yeah, again, really pleasing. 2 5-2 wins in a row. It's what are the chances? 10 goals in 2 games, 14 in the first 4, which has been absolutely great. And this is largely a second string team. I mean, Luca Dean at centre back, even though he's a first choice player, he's obviously second choice being centre back. So we can say this is largely a second string team. So really really pleased. I thought Bernard was probably the stand-up performer in that match. Really tidy little football. I've always liked Bernard. Really good centrally, can pick a pass, really neat and tidy. Do think he's a bit lightweight for the Premier League, unfortunately. But I thought he played really well. To add to the talk on Nkunku, that kid looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm really excited. I mean, because I think at the start of the season we thought, okay, we're going to be really short on right back and left back, and now we've got Coleman and Kenny, who, okay, that could be improved. And now we've got Dean and Nkunku, which, I think that's more or less covered. So he just looks an absolute class above. And I think you're right. I think we signed him for the under-23s and then realised, okay, hang on a second, he's all right. He can
give him some fanfare. Yeah.
Yeah, he can. Well, he deserves it. I think he's obviously been working hard in training and doing well. So yeah, Iwobi as well. Fair play. I think he gets a lot of stick from us, especially in the WhatsApp group, and a lot of people don't like him. Tim, to be fair, you've always sort of been an advocate for him. I've been very critical. I thought he was really good. Yes, okay, it's Fleetwood. They're League One, fine, but you can only play with what's in front of you. And I thought he played really, really well. And fair play to him. And it just shows that we've got strength in depth, which is great. I won't talk about too much about Pickford's individual performance, but I did think, and it's probably far be it for me to criticise Don Carlo, but I did think it was very odd that Pickford started the match. I don't know what Virginia's doing going on his jollies or being allowed to go on his jollies when we've got a game coming up. And if you don't trust Losel as your, to be on the bench for a game, then why is he even on the bench? You put a kid on there or something. Pickford, for me, he didn't need to play that game, and it was unnecessary pressure on a wet, cold, horrible night against lower league opposition. And obviously it came to fruition that it was a nightmare for him. But again, overall, the 2 goals conceded were all howlers. Were both howlers. And without that, it was a 5-0 game. And I think we dominated. We were not really in any danger apart from the slip-ups. So yeah, I've got no qualms about that. What about you, Andy?
I watched most of the first half and then I had to go to work. But from what I saw, I was quite impressed. Decent first half, a lot of control on the ball, a lot of possession, some good movement. But then, once I got to work, I was like, wait, how is it? Was it 3-2? I'm like, what happened? Like, we conceded 2 goals. And I just saw all the rants about Pickford. So I was like, oh, here we go, something's happening. But then I just listened to the rest of it, and very, very pleased to get another 5-2 result. Very good. And then just when I did finally see the highlights and stuff and see Pickford's mistakes, that's something we need to talk about. But I think all around good performances, and I absolutely agree about Iwobi. I thought he was fantastic. Even in the first half I thought he was good movement. He had quite a few attempts at goal, which was good to see. And just his 1-2 touch and the back heel to Richarlison's second goal, like that's
Pretty good.
That's good creative play. Like that was really good.
Right.
I just thought, move on and onwards and upwards.
Just before we
I think
move
we're
on
taking
to
this
the
cup
feud,
seriously as well.
Exactly, we're taking it serious. About time.
Because we need. Honestly, I think just winning a cup. Okay, yes, we want a good league position. If we finish, say, top 8 and won the Carabao Cup, I think we can say that's a good season. I know it doesn't sound like we're trying to reach for the big time, but and also there's the argument about whether or not that will keep some of our star players in at the club. But I think we're so desperate to win a trophy. I mean, how good would that be?
What were you going to say, Tim?
Just one thing I wanted to point out. I don't know how I forgot. Obviously, my boy Moyes coming on and scoring a goal.
Oh yes, Moyes game.
That's pretty hard to go past. That's 2 games he's played in this season and scored a goal in both. So just throwing that out there.
It was the perfect end. I think he hit about 93 minutes, and I was just like pleading for Keane to get one last chance. And Gordon as well. We haven't mentioned
Gordon.
We did mention Gordon, but Gordon came on and got, I think, 2 assists, which is fantastic. And again, staking his claim on the left wing. But no, it's really pleasing for Keane. I know Richarlison snarls a lot as well, but I wish Keane would just have a bit, give a smile.
Yeah, he didn't look like the happiest bloke in the world.
He didn't look happy when he scored.
Well, I think that's his style, and he's obviously very frustrated. He's probably missing home, missing his mum, whatever it might be. But I do wish that he, I don't know, smile a little bit more. But then again, if he's not happy, he's not happy. You can't force someone to be happy. But I just think for him as well, it was just really good to get that goal last minute. His goals to minutes ratio can't be that bad. It's got to be quite good.
Well, I mean, his goals to minutes aren't great because he came on for the last 20 minutes in a lot of games last season. But I always just say, well, he also only started 2 games and scored in both of those last season.
Yeah. I really hope he can. And if he's scoring goals, if Gordon's playing well, if players like Iwobi are sort of coming up, Bernard as well, then it's got to push the players that are in those positions currently to perform really well. Which Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are stepping up massively.
As soon as
they don't, Moise Keane, Gordon, those sort of players are there to take their places.
Exactly.
As we've all said, strength in depth, and I think Ancelotti came out pre-season and said, Keane's going to start more games, and Calvert-Lewin want to bet.
Exactly.
He's going to have to work hard to get back in this team, but at the same time, it's comforting to know that if we get to the 60th minute against Palace and we can't break them down, and Calvert-Lewin's been nowhere near the ball, well, we know Moyes can come on and do a job. So
exactly,
it's not something we've been able to say every season. So.
Yeah. And with that, let's talk about Jordan. Who wants to start?
Look, I think we'll leave Nick till last on this one. I know that we one day joked about a segment that we could have called Tim Fumes, because I can deliver a spray with the best of them. But I think this segment should be called Nick Fumes.
Yeah.
Look, I've Pickford's another one I've been a staunch supporter of, along with Iwobi and Keane. I don't mind a keeper who's a bit flamboyant and has a bit of attitude. I really like that. I can't excuse what happened this morning. You can say the back pass to him wasn't good enough. That's part of it. Maybe no one was talking to him about how close those players were to him. Then the thing, what do you call it?
The overhead kick, yeah.
And he just sort of flapped at it. He was nowhere near it. Granted, it was quite close to him when it came in. There are slight excuses, but they were absolute howlers against a League One side who probably couldn't believe their luck. Look, I think I'm starting to get to the point now where, although I have been a staunch supporter of his, I'm starting to get concerned how often these mistakes are happening. I
Mm.
know he led the Premier League for mistakes leading to goals last season. Look, in this game, it hasn't cost us. As we've discussed, I feel like, attacking-wise, we're going quite well at the moment. But there will be tight games where he's going to make mistakes like that, and it's going to cost us points. I don't know, as Chris said, I don't know where Virginia was. I thought I read in an article earlier this week that he was slated to start this game. Then, a couple of hours before in Concu, there were all the pictures of Virginia signing a new contract. So where was he? Maybe he's injured. I don't know, because, Iwobi wasn't even in the squad for the first few weeks and we didn't hear that he had an injury. But then later on, we found out that he did. Losel, I don't know, I think he shouldn't be there. We came up in a transfer show a while ago about Sergio Romero, who's now third choice at Man United.
Mm.
I don't think he'd cost a lot. I think it's worth bringing him in for this season because I don't know if Pickford, at the moment, I don't think we can be confident enough to drop Pickford for any Premier League game given the two keepers that are behind him. But I think he's going to make mistakes that are going to warrant him being dropped. And the only way to iron it out and to see if he can, what his mentality is like and if he can handle it is to drop him. Over to you, Chris.
For me, there's two Pickfords. There's Pickford that goes to England and saves everything and is the best keeper in the world. And then there's Pickford that plays for Everton who isn't as confident, has consistent mistakes. He makes... We all know how good he is with both feet and with the ball. He can hoof the ball a mile. He's probably the best distributor in the Prem of the long ball. The short ones, he's pretty good as well. But he just makes mistakes that he doesn't need to make. And the mistakes he makes, they're not little ones. They're big ones that directly relate to goals. And eventually, it's cost us in a few Premier League games, but for us to move forward, if we take those mistakes out last year, we probably finish one position higher.
Mm.
This year we're obviously challenging. We're wanting to play Europe and things like that. And we can't have 3 or 6 points go begging that could have had because of a keeper mistake. It can't happen. And for me, I think it's an attitude thing. I think that he knows that no matter what, he doesn't have anybody else sitting on that bench that is willing, or is probably good enough to take his position for the Premier League, specifically the Premier League. For the league, for the cups, it's a different story. I wouldn't be playing him in any cup game, no matter what, for the rest of the season now. But in the league, there needs to be someone there to get him to that next level. We all know how good he is for England. We all know how good of a shot stopper he generally is. He one of the highest save percentages last year. I had him in my fantasy team, and every second game, he was getting a bonus point for 3 or 4 saves. So he can save the ball. He has that talent, but it's something in his head. And I know he's still young, and, I know he's got a little bit of a cocky streak and an arrogance to him. And I like that in a keeper. You need to have that in a keeper. You need to be a big personality to be able to command the area and command pretty much the conductor of the whole side, really. And he's got that and he's good at that. But silly little mistakes he just needs to get rid of. And, look at what's happening at Chelsea. Chelsea are a team that are pushing for Europe, and they went and spent $70 million on Kepa, and they've just signed a new keeper today, and Kepa's probably done.
Yeah.
So he's underperformed, and they've gone, you know what, this is not good enough. They played another bloke in Caballero in the Cups. They've gone, we need someone for the league, and Kepa's probably gone. So I think for Everton to get to that next level, we can't have a keeper that is a liability at times. So if Romero comes in, I think he'd only be 5 mil max. I think that's worth sinking that money. Lossell, he was first choice at Huddersfield when he was in the Prem, but he's never had a go with us. I don't know what they see in him, so I'd probably get rid of him. Bring in Romero, get rid of Lossell. Romero can sit on the bench for the Prem and keep in the Cups, and Virginia can be the backup to him. Or if Virginia, we've signed him on another few-year deal. If he is that good, why didn't he play, and why isn't he forcing Pickford and putting that pressure on him? So in my honest opinion, get Romero in, or look at who else is out there. There's there's plenty of other decent keepers out there playing lower league. Someone like Jack Butland, potentially, he would put a little bit of pressure on Pickford, been in the England setup as well, so knows what is needed. But for me, I just think that, yes, it was the cup, but it wasn't one mistake, it was two. And I think he just needs to have some accountability and have someone pushing him to that next level, because the difference between his best and his worst is huge. And I just want consistency from him week in, week out. And I don't want him to cost us a game in the Prem. And, we've seen what can happen. And when that happens and we lose a game or draw a game that we didn't deserve, the confidence of the players, it deflates and we can go on a bad run. And that happened last year after his couple of howlers. So we all know the talent is there and we've seen it numerous times, but just the consistency now that these mistakes are happening is alarming. And I think we need somebody else in, for someone of high quality. Romero's a pretty good goalkeeper, and I just think he would push him to the next level. And at very, very worst, he might actually sit down for 5 seconds and go, you know what? My job isn't 100% safe here. It's now only 75% safe. And he just worked that little bit harder. And if it works that little bit harder, I think that we'll be fine. So what do you think, Andy?
Yeah, for me, my issues with Pickford have gone all the way back since the incident at Anfield. I just find, I know, he's just his attitude, just not, I don't know, he makes these really poor decisions, and like you rewatch them again and again, and you're just like, how did you get to that answer? Like, and with this game from this morning, like, okay, yeah, the back pass probably wasn't the best, but like, you moved directly to where the two players were. How could you not see them right there? You received the ball on your right and you moved to your left where two players are. Yeah, I just think his general awareness or reading the game is just, it's not up to the standard it needs to be. And then, I think it might have been last season he was at the darts and there's that footage of him sculling a beer. Like, they're things I'm like, I don't want to see this. Like, what are you doing? Okay, it might be a 2-week break into, or a cup week that we're not in, and, they give a week off for the players. And that's what you do. It's like, okay, you're socializing, but to me, this is not a good look. But yeah, I don't know. But then, in the Spurs game, he makes these amazing saves and you're just like, oh, well, there you go. He can be good. But he just seems to pick and choose when he wants to. And okay, yeah, it was pretty horrible weather. Maybe the rain, it was just miserable and it was just hard to focus. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like this, he's like you were saying, Chris, he's not challenged enough in that position. And I think that really needs to happen. So he realizes, oh, hey, I could be number 2. It could happen. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get on to Nick. So Nick, unleash.
Yeah, look, I'll probably surprise you. I haven't got much to add in the sense that I think a lot of it's been covered. I don't want to repeat anyone. I feel the same. I think on the positive side of things, Tottenham the other week, he was fantastic. He commanded his box well. His distribution was fantastic. He made some really important saves, which I think actually go unnoticed because of the great result. He actually, even though we played fantastically well, he kept us in that game in the sense that even though we were well on top of Tottenham, they had 2 or 3 chances that could have resulted in a goal. He did really well. But I just think I've never liked him as an Everton goalie. I think he is arrogant. I think he's got some issues with that. When he does make little mistakes that don't quite result in a goal, he'll have a laugh and chuckle to himself. And I did sort of give him the benefit of the doubt in the end, maybe a year ago, and thought, okay, that might be like a nervous twitch, which can happen. But no, I don't think so. I think he just finds it funny. If I'm honest, that might sound harsh, and people might disagree. But no, I think he just finds it funny. I agree. He doesn't have, decent goalies backing him up. I don't really know Virginia. Didn't really do anything at Reading. I think he got dropped after a couple of games. Loso, as we know, is not fancied by Carlo. I actually think this was poor management from Carlo Ancelotti in this particular instance, in the sense that I don't think he needed to play this game. I think he'd obviously had a hard time last season, Jordan Pickford. He had a really good game against Spurs, and okay, could have done better at West Brom, but whatever. He didn't need to play this treacherous, horrible Wednesday night in Fleetwood. Do you know what I mean? And we could have put a second or a third choice goalie on. And as I said earlier, if he doesn't trust Loso as the third keeper to be on the bench, then why don't you just put a kid on there? Do you know what I mean? What's the point? Why was Virginia on a holiday? Anyway, Pickford, yeah, he's not what we need to go forward. He is going to cost us points. He is a liability at this point. It's a shame. I never want to see an Everton player get so much abuse and so much stick. I do feel, I feel for the guy. But he's absolutely not what we need. I also don't feel someone like Ramiro is either, because I look at Ramiro and okay, he's got 90 odd caps for Argentina, but he's been quite happy to sit in his twilight years as a goalkeeper, his late 20s, early 30s, on the bench as a second choice keeper at Man United and not do anything really. He's been quite happy. So does he have the hunger and the desire to push Pickford? Maybe not. Apparently he gets good reviews from Man United fans. They all think he's a good keeper, reliable in the Europa League. But has he got the right mentality at 33, 34 that we need to, if we're going to try and make Pickford the goalkeeper he has the promise to be, is Ramiro the kind of right keeper to come in? I'm not so sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answers, which is why I'm not manager of Everton Football Club. But something's got to change, because we've got the players in the outfield players now to actually do some damage in this league. We really do. I think Pickford could be holding us back, and it's a bit bigger than just a couple of places in the division as well. He could be the difference between a Richarlison staying at the club or a James Rodriguez staying at the club, depending on where we finish in the league and things like that. Yeah, I know I haven't spoken much from a goalkeeping perspective. It's not really my field of expertise, but he just looks completely out of his depth. I mean, okay. The first goal that Fleetwood scored was terrible. It was a bad pass. Shouldn't have been given to him in the first place. He should have kicked out straight away, but he's obviously been coached to be the footballing goalkeeper. So that's what he's gone with. And look, that happens sometimes. You get closed down, you give the ball away, they score a goal. It happens. It's happened many times. But that second goal just summed him up. It really did. I know it was very close to him. I know it was a good effort, overhead kick, bit hard to judge. But he actually, what got him in the mess in the first place was the fact that he misjudged the ball over the top. So he sort of went over. And then when he was getting back, he was all a bit in a fluster. But even so, when the ball comes into him, it's harder to not save it. I would say, because even if it just hits him in the face, it goes out. Okay, they might get the rebound, but it goes out, and he sort of just pushed it that way, didn't he? Sort of back behind him. It was quite bizarre. It's not good enough for an Everton number one. Even if we didn't have the outfield players that we do, it's not good enough. And I do think it's gone on long enough. And like you said, Andy, it's gone on since the Liverpool match. Has he recovered from that? Has it always been in this game to be like this? Maybe. But yeah, I just think we need to do something. I don't know what that answer is though.
So lads, I want to fire two quick questions before we finish up on Jordan. Just a yes or no answer. Should Pickford be an Everton player next season? Andy?
No.
Nick?
No.
Chris?
No.
Okay. Second question. You're Carlo. We've got a potential banana skin of a game coming up against Palace, which I know we'll discuss in a minute. Do you drop in for João Virginia to make a statement? Andy?
No.
Nick?
Oh, God. Every fibre of my being wants to say yes, but no.
Chris?
Every fibre of me wants to say yes, but no. And I know you said one word, but I just think for the Premier League, he's our best keeper.
Yeah.
So we have to play our best keeper, and we have to play our best players in the games that mean the most, and the Prem means the most. So no, we can't drop him for that game.
And I can't see Carlo doing that, because he's
obviously he's a good man manager, but I just looking at your answers there, and I'm not saying I disagree at all.
Oh no, yeah.
I kind of find it funny how we're saying, okay, no, he won't be there at Everton next season, my opinion on that is, okay, so if he's not good enough, get the young guy in and see if he's good enough for a few games. I mean, why not? I mean, he's going to need to get blooded in at some point. Give him a few games while we've got some easier fixtures. But I'm guessing, Carlo being the man manager that he is, I'm guessing there's a reason he hasn't done that. Because Lord knows he's had plenty of opportunity. When we were playing for nothing in the second half.
Exactly.
Of last season,
yeah, the restart.
He could have done it then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
True.
Carlo
Anyway.
actually came out and backed Pickford. He said,
That's right.
first one, okay.
And he's probably seen something in his character where, putting an arm around him is the best way to manage him. So in Carlo, we trust.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to that Crystal Palace game. I'm happy to start us off here. I think there possibly will be a few changes. I think maybe he might give James a place on the bench. I don't think he'll start him. And in replacement, I think possibly Iwobi. I think his performance really shows that he's earned a start. And he would play in James' spot in the middle with Gomez. Those are my thoughts. And I think we will win 2-1. Nick.
Solid. Yeah, I think it'll be probably the same team that started West Brom, unless there's any injuries. I think it should be the same team. Although Alan's been away in Italy getting his haircut, so I don't know what's going on with that. So I guess he's back in the country now. Who knows really? So yeah, I think it'd be the same team. Crystal Palace is always a hard game against. They've got some good players. IU up front is quite handy. Obviously they've got Zaha, and they've got that lad that they got from QPR. Don't know if he'll start or come off the bench, but he's quite tough. I mean, look, Crystal Palace on paper, we should be beating them, but it's always tough to go to Selhurst Park. But look, I'm new. It's new 2021 season, and I'm optimistic. And I think we can nick a 1-0. Chris.
So firstly, on Alan, apparently I read on Instagram, I saw the same thing, that he was getting his hair cut in Italy. Apparently he went back to Italy to take care of some stuff there and bring stuff across to his new place that he's got he's got here. So that's why he missed that game. So no issues with that.
I actually thought that he'd gone just to get his hair cut because
They must have good barbers in Italy.
Yeah.
To be fair, if I could leave Victoria to go and get a haircut right now, I definitely would. So I can totally...
If I could leave Victoria to get a chocolate bar, I would.
But anyway, enough of that. I think Palace is, like you said, Nick. It's a potential. It's a big banana skin, to be honest. They defend really well. They got some really good players. Townsend started the season really well. My fingers and toes are crossed that Zaha doesn't play. He's been linked again with not only us, but a few other teams. So potentially, I saw Roy came out and said if he wants to go, then we're going to have to start thinking about that. I think money for Palace as well is now starting to become an issue. So potentially that could help us. IU's been pretty good to start the season. They got a new young kid playing at left back, Mitchell, because they got about 4 defenders out. So, when the season come out, I know I do a lot of fantasy football, and they do a fantasy fixture rating for your first 3 games, and Palace actually had what they thought were the 3 hardest first games out of the lot. So they've won two of those 3 to start with. So credit to them. Everyone had Roy as probably being one of the first managers to go, and he's gone and nicked them 6 points in the first game. So I think it's going to be a bit more different than the first 2 games. Palace, they got quite a bit of pace, so they'll stretch us. If Zaha does play, him versus Coleman's going to be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to how that goes. I don't think there'll be any team changes. I think the way Carlo goes about it historically is he picks the best team that he can for that game, and I think our best team that we can for the game is the same team that started in in the Prem last week against West Brom, unless there is some injuries, which obviously we'll wait for the press conference to hear that. I would like to see Gordon get a crack on the bench. I think, he's earned it, but in Carlo we trust. He hasn't really made too many decisions that we sort of questioned to begin with. Obviously, we're 4 games into the season, 2 Cup, 2 League, and we've won them all, and we've scored a bucket load of goals. So I think this is going to be a tougher game. I'm going a 2-0 win. I think, defensively, I think Mina would have been given a massive kick in the ass in training, and I think he's going to want to prove that he is a good player. And I think Pickford the same. I think Pickford probably taken a lot of stick, and we've all given him stick and rightly deserved. But I think hopefully Carlo's put his arm around him, and the depth of character that Pickford is, that he comes out and puts together a 90-minute performance, and the same sort of thing for Mina. So interesting to see how they take the game. Are they going to be pressing us? Are they going to let us have a lot of the ball and sit back? We're only 2 games into the season, but I think now that a lot of teams are probably going to be happy to let us have the ball for the majority of the game, let us boss possession and then try and nick it on the counter. So interesting to see how that plays out. But 2-0, I think, will put us top of the league for a little while again, and hopefully we can just keep the momentum building and keep the positive performance happening, and we'll see how we go. Tim?
Look, lads, we're 2 games into the season, and it's a top of the table clash between 2 undefeated teams in the top 5.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Now, look, this is more so a danger game for me than West Brom. I'm gonna call my result early, which is going to be unpopular. I'm going to say 1-1. Chris, in regards to their play style, they're definitely going to sit deep and hit us on the counter, which is all Palace does anytime they play any game. And my issue with that is how easily we've been exposed on the counter from our own corners in the first 2 games. Their pace up front terrifies me, because that's the only way they know how to play. I also think, Andy, I almost agree that Iwobi might start, because I think James is just going to get battered from pillar to post. They're just going to foul him at every opportunity.
Yeah.
That's what they do. So it's kind of a danger game for him too, because we know from his injury history he can be quite what's the word, brittle, I guess. Yeah. But look, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I'm very nervous, more so than I was about the West Brom game, just because it's there, and of course Zaha's playing out of his skin at the moment because he's trying to get a move somewhere. If we were playing this 1 week after the window closed and he hadn't gotten his move, he'd be a non-factor. He's only playing this well because he's trying to get a move somewhere. Once he doesn't, he'll strop again and be crap like he was last season. Look, I'm going to say 1-1, hoping that I'm wrong. But I think, a tough game, and it'll be interesting to see. I think we start in the same formation, that 4-3-3 we've been playing. But if we struggle to break them down, which we have done in the past, I'll be interested to see what tricks Carlo has up his sleeve, because we've been talking about the depth that we have now. So I'll be interested to see how that's used if we are struggling to break them down. So fingers crossed, lads, but I think 1-1.
Nice.
Very nice. Nick, did we get your prediction?
Yeah, it wasn't that memorable.
I think you said 3-1, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I can't even remember. I think I went 2-1.
2-1. Okay, same as me. Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1, and I think it'll be the same team that starts as against West Brom. But yeah, look, I think it is, just to echo on what Tim said. I think it is a potential banana skin. But this is New Everton, and
that's it.
Anything's possible. So I'll leave you with that.
Very true. That's a great point. That's a great way to leave it.
It is. And with that, we will leave it. You can catch us on the socials, on Twitter at Toffees Victoria, on Facebook, just search for Everton Supporters Club of Victoria. And we have our Instagram account, toffees.victoria. Thanks, guys, and enjoy the football this weekend. And come on, you Blues.
Come on, you Blues. See you next week.